Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Vampire the Requiem, Louisville slash New Orleans. Because what started out as a New Orleans vacation has gotten somewhat more complicated and might take more time. Uh, I'm Mike, I'm your storyteller for tonight, and I'm here with Robin, uh, my vampire player. So I will throw it over to Robin and let her tell you who she is and what she does.
Hi, I'm Robin. I'm playing Dee Dee. She is a vampire of the Invictus Covenant and D.I.Y clan, and she has a YouTube cooking show she puts on twice a week, which is now they're showing reruns right now while she's on her nice, relaxing vacation.
Yes. And something popped to mind, which is you've been in New Orleans for several days now, several nights now. Uh, how many rerun episodes do you have, and are you going to have to run back and film another?
Oh, no, there's plenty. I've
Okay.
been doing this show for years.
So you've got lots of reruns
Mhm.
to deal. Okay. Just wondering, like, because Hanley goes back and forth when necessary, so I was just wondering if Dee Dee would have to run home and film a couple of episodes and then come back.
I mean, for that matter, it would take some setting up, but I could probably use, if I had to, I could use Magnus's kitchen if
Yeah.
Chef Wong would let me.
Hey, here's an idea. You could have Chef Wong as a special guest on one of your episodes. Couldn't you just see him on YouTube? Just catch him on a day where he hasn't had to deal with a distributor and you'll probably be all right.
Right.
So, um, so the last time we left this little group, uh, you and Chef Wong and Chef Wong's mother, and had finally figured out what they had to do to get Magnus better. So he's now better. He's not probably not up to running around a lot quite yet, but he's better. And after you told them what you guys had found by doing your investigation, you all agreed that the deputy sheriff, in quotes, uh,
Right.
seemed a little strange. So you were going to dig into him a little more.
Well, it definitely seemed a little strange that, this other other deputy sheriff had no idea who he was. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And New Orleans has a million people in it, but their sheriff's department isn't incredibly large. So if one of the deputies were acting weird and the other deputies didn't actually know who he was, that would, you know, it's not like this supposed sheriff could get lost in the police department or the sheriff's department. You know, if it was really big, he could just get lost and it wouldn't be anything for other officers not to know who he was.
Right.
But this is not the case. You know, and you know, so um, the Magnus's sunset alarm goes off, and it wakes the two of you up. Um, Very shortly after that happening, Magnus's phone rings. It's uh, it's the prince, and because one of the things Magnum did before you two crashed was he called the prince and told him what was going on. Uh, but at this point, the prince calls Magnum because there seems to be a bit of a problem. The chief of police, uh, Chief Linden, his body's gone out of the morgue
Okay, that's uh,
because
concerning.
because one of the lower level assistants in the morgue is a vampire.
Mm,
Yeah, but the head coroner doesn't know that because he's human. And the assistant went to check on Chief Linden's body because it had been a while. And, you know, you gotta have the funeral within 3 or 4 days because the body starts decomposing.
mhm,
So, and it was approaching that. And so the assistant was checking, making sure everything was okay. And he opened the drawer thing where the chief's body was, and it's empty.
okay, that's not good.
And so he immediately told his superior, the coroner. And while the coroner was checking and freaking out, losing his mind, because it's a bad thing when you're a coroner and the chief of police body disappears. The assistant called the prince, and then the prince called Magnus. Magnus. So, um, you hear Magnus talking to the prince, wanting details of, when it happened and all this stuff. And then when he hangs up, he turns to you and tells you that what the prince said, which is, you know, Chief Linden's body is gone. And
Okay, well, my first question is when was the last time the body got checked on, just so we have a timeline as to when it disappeared?
Magnus is like, uh, nobody's mentioned that. before, well, how about this? When you guys go, if you're gonna go investigate the deputy sheriff more, I will go down to the coroner's office and talk to the assistant and see what he can tell me about that.
Because that would be kind of nice to know, like what kind of time.
Yeah,
We're looking at how long it's been missing.
right. 'Cause, yeah, if it's just been missing since last night, that's one thing. But if it's been missing for a week,
Right.
that's something totally different. So, um, so, and then he stops for a second and smiles and is like, "Well, how are you tonight?"
Well, I guess I'm all right.
Other than what I just told you, how are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm all right. Getting ready to go get us some blood.
Well, he's like, "Yeah, that would be helpful." uh, but he reaches he reaches around you and gives you a big hug. He goes, um, "I know this vacation hasn't turned into a much of a vacation, but it's been very nice to have you around."
Well, yeah, it's been nice to be here and all. I mean, with you and just getting to see New Orleans, but
Yeah.
it's definitely been a thing. There's a lot of wasn't expecting all this.
He's like, "Well, neither was I, and I definitely wasn't expecting, getting blasted and almost, you know,
Well, no, of course not.
dying and all that. And that's been a low, a low point in the vacation so far for me, anyway. But
Of course.
yeah, uh, yeah. Um, After we get this whole thing solved, uh, you guys have to stay for a few more nights just so we can do actual, touristy vacation stuff before you.
Yes.
But yeah, and he goes, "Well, why don't you go hop in the shower and I'll get up and I'll go down to the main hall with you to get the blood because I want to talk to Chef Wong and stuff like that."
All right.
Because I'm going to be a little, how should I put this? Uh, Pushy. Because I'm going to plan a party and invite Mabel and Chef Wong and Willie and Eddie and see, see what happens between the four of those.
All right.
Because if Sarah's correct, be an interesting way to end your vacation to have a wedding or two.
Oh, she's definitely there was definitely something going on between Eddie and
Willie, yeah.
Lily. Yeah.
That's the easy one. Mabel and Chef Wong are another story altogether.
Honestly, I'm not sure there being something between the two of them would be a good thing.
Mhm. Well, I know that Chef Wong would like it. I have no idea what is on Mabel's mind as far as that goes.
Oh, I'm just thinking with both of their tempers, it might not turn out
Well,
to be
yeah,
great.
yeah, I don't think that household is going to be, harmonious and mellow or any in the slightest. But yeah, the thing is with vampires can get married and divorced, but since they both live for ever, you'll never get to a point where you won't end up seeing your ex because
Right.
you both live forever. So it's like, unless one of you gets taken out or something, which with those two, that might be the way that marriage ends if it ends. And get in a big fight and decide to take each other out. It's like,
Right.
and at that point, I think Chef Wong has the advantage because even though Mabel is, a formidable person, uh, Chef Wong's probably been practicing martial arts for centuries. So it's like,
Right.
yeah, I think he'd have the advantage there. Excuse me. Which in reality would mean nobody would want to mess with him because he'd probably be able to kick anybody's butt at this point, except maybe the prince. But because the old kung fu theater movies with the guys with the white mustaches down to here and such,
Yeah.
that's what I'm picturing Chef Wong to look like. So, he's like, mess with me and I'll destroy your ass. But
Right.
that's why he likes to go out on these missions with Eddie where they just get to tear up crap. But as any good samurai, they have other activities. And instead of doing calligraphy and all this, he decided to start cooking. But um, um, while you're in the shower, Magnus is scrolling through his phone to see how many, emails and stuff that he missed while he was not feeling well because, he is a multi-international businessman with lots of things going on. And he's like, I hope I didn't miss anything important while I was indisposed, as it were. Uh, just as you're getting out of the shower, he goes, oh crap, that will be a problem. And
What's that?
my parents want to come.
Why is that a problem?
Well, for one thing, all the stuff that we have going on, plus they're not they don't know the latest thing about ink. They don't,
Oh, yeah,
they,
that.
they don't know the whole force field thing. So, they're gonna walk up to Inga's bed and try to grab her hand or hug her or something, and blam.
Wait, wait. I thought her body was still at the university
Oh,
because
yeah,
that's where the force field was.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking before that when she was in Magnus's house. But yeah, but same thing, they're gonna try to go visit and then, you know, hit the force field. They, then they're gonna want us to explain it all, and that's not gonna be a good thing. I'm gonna have to call him or text him back and saying right now wouldn't be a good time to come and visit.
Right? Yeah, probably not.
So, and then he's like, while you're getting dressed, I'll jump in the shower real quick. Then we can go get blood. So while you jump in the shower, he calls his parents back. Or, no, while you're getting dressed, he calls his parents back and then jumps in the shower. He's like, you don't know how good a hot shower feels until you haven't had one for a week or two. But and since vampires are generally cold to begin with, uh, hot showers are something something you guys find interesting because it brings back memories of when you were human.
Right.
So, how did Dee Dee dress today or tonight?
Usual stuff. Pair of jeans and blouse.
Uh, and if you're gonna go snooping around in the sheriff's department, it's like you can't look too obvious anyway. So he walks out of the shower wearing nothing but a towel. Mm. And even though he hadn't been in the greatest of health, that hasn't seemed to have affected his muscle structure at all. He's still, you know, all toned and buffed and everything. uh, his blonde hair is pulled back in a ponytail. And he's like, hmm. He's like, I guess I better wear a suit if I'm going to the morgue tonight. So, yeah, gotta look as imposing as possible. So he takes a few minutes and, throws on his suit. And he walks over to you and his tie is not done. And he's like, well, he's bas- and he basically asks you to do his tie. So,
Well, I don't have much experience with that, but I guess I can try to figure it out.
mm, he's like, someday I hope I can dress more like you do and don't have to keep wearing suits and shit. Yeah, jeans and a polo shirt seem much nicer to me than this stuff. Uh, And he puts his arm around your waist, and the two of you head down the hall. And uh, when you get to the great hall dining room, you see something that you didn't think you'd ever see, which is Sarah and Chef Wong playing with each other. Uh, she's actually got him down on the floor. She's in werewolf form, and she's like sitting on top of him on the floor. And and he's actually smiling about it. So it's like, yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't mind dog hair in his kitchen.
No, they're on the floor in the great hall. They're not.
Oh, okay. I thought they were on the
They're
kitchen
no,
floor.
they're by the dining room table in the great hall. They're not in his kitchen. He wouldn't do that in his kitchen. Magnus chuckles and goes, "Uh, you mind if we get by you so we can get some blood out of the fridge?" And Wong just sort of looks at him. And even though she's sitting on Wong's chest, as Magnus goes by, she reaches out and tries to grab his leg as he goes by. He's like, "You're not tripping me so I fall on Chef Wong. That's not gonna happen." She's like, "I'm attempting to get everybody on the floor." It's like, yeah. So, um, as Magnus goes and gets a couple of goblets of blood, what do you do in this situation?
Well, I guess I'll just kind of wait for him to bring the goblet back.
So you grab a chair and sit down, or
Yeah, I guess I'll take a seat.
so you're just sitting there watching uh, Sarah in werewolf form try to tickle Chef Wong while she's sitting on his chest. And you're like, knowing the lack of sense of humor that Chef Wong has, you're not sure if this is gonna turn out well or not.
But I mean, you do have, I mean, even he has to make allowances because she is just a little girl.
Yeah,
So,
but
one that could, easily kill a bunch of people, but
uh,
still just a little girl.
yeah, yeah, but you've never seen Chef Wong laugh,
Mhm.
so whether he's ticklish or not, you have no idea. So, uh, about that time, Magnus, I keep confusing those two. Um, Magnus comes out and sets your goblet of blood on the table. and he picks Sarah up by an arm and goes, uh, "You can play more with Chef Wong later. I need to talk to him about something." And yeah, she gets off Chef Wong and then goes over and tries to tickle Magnus, but it doesn't work.
Right.
And then he turns to her and says, "I've got a job for you. Go out into the where uh, car warehouse, because that's probably where Lily and Eddie hang out most of the time, and tell them I'm planning a party for 2 nights from now, and I want them both to be there." And you see her switch back into little girl form. She does it effortlessly, unlike all the movies you see where it's such a traumatic thing. She's like,
Right.
yeah. And you see her smile and her eyes twinkle. And it's like, I know what you're up to. And turns and runs off to go talk to Eddie and Lily. And then Chef Wong slowly gets up. It's like that was an interesting experience. I don't know about this tickle thing. Uh, uh, Ma- Magnus then goes on to tell him about the party in 2 days and that he's got 2 days to plan the menu and all that stuff. And uh, the only question Wong asks is he's if the menu deciding the menu is up to him or if the uh, Magnus wants something special. And Magnus tells Wong that uh, the menu's up to him. He's like, with that Japanese temple you built, and I think you can handle the menu.
Right.
He goes, but Magnus stops him and goes, "Get the stuff locally. Don't fuss with another distributor. We don't have time for that." So, go to the market yourself. He gives a look like that's more work than I thought. But he's like, "Yeah, none of the distributors will get the stuff here in 2 days anyway." So,
Right.
so he's like, "Yeah, I'll start working on that." And he goes back into the kitchen. Um, then Magnus turns to you. He sits down next to you and goes, "So, how do you want to work this thing with the fake sheriff?"
Well, I mean, honestly, I think the best way to go about it would be to ask them, talk to some of the other members of the police department about him and see what they've got to say. But I'm not sure how we'd go about doing that. But I think that would at least give us something if we, as long as he doesn't know we're snooping around, asking
Right,
about him.
right. Because you guys did a background check on him or tried to and nothing came up.
Right. Nothing, which is a little weird. But yeah, nothing came
Yeah,
up at all.
Yeah. So I just had a thought. Unless he takes public transit, how did he get to work and back?
Oh, I was assuming he drove.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. If you can somehow figure out which car, what car he drives, you could always start off by going into the parking lot and, you know, snooping around his car and see if you can find, you know, papers of any kind. Yeah.
Well, that's true. I didn't think
Like
about that.
like the registration for the car has to have all his contact information in it, name, age, that sort of thing.
Right.
So that might be a way to find out things without him even knowing you're trying to find out things.
Right, but how do I figure out what car it's his? I mean,
Well,
I just
yeah, that's true.
hang around in the parking lot till he shows up, or I mean, that would look a little suspicious, wouldn't
You,
it?
you would have to ask some of his other, you know, cop acquaintances which car he drove.
Right. And I do have his name, which above game I don't remember right now. But yeah, so I could ask about it, ask them that for sure.
Yeah.
Or the name he gave them anyway. I don't know if that's
Right.
even his real name.
Yeah, that's true too. How likely is it that he would give anybody his real name if he's doing trying to pull this kind of stunt? So, the thing is, for the registration on the car, he'd have to use his real name.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, if he gave you a fake name, it would be different than what was on the registration. So,
Well, that's true. And even if I don't get any other information, if I find the registration, I'll at least know that.
yeah, you'll know where he lives then because it'll have his address on it,
Right.
or at least some address that he might fake. But and I'm gonna go talk to the assistant coroner and try and find out where the police chief's body's gone off to. All we need is a dead police chief wandering around.
Yeah, that's. I mean, of course, it sort of sounds like that's we've already got that, but hopefully not.
Well, if he's wandering around by himself under his own power, we have a bigger problem because we have a zombie police chief on our hands.
And
Which,
like I said, it's sort of leaning toward that's what's the case, and I hope I'm wrong.
yeah, here's a thought. Has anybody ever talked to the mayor? Because
Don't think we've done that yet.
the mayor would have to appoint the police chief, so they would know more about who he was and all that stuff. Because they have to interview him to give him the job and stuff. And he would also, the police chief would then tell the mayor who he was hiring to be deputy. So if you can't get anywhere in the police department, going and barging into the mayor's office might work. eh, if he's there. So, it's always fun to barge into the mayor's office.
If you say so.
Ah, you just fake that you're really upset, and the mayor will listen to you for at least 5 minutes before his next meeting. And don't know if anybody's told the mayor that the dead dead police chief's body, there you go, is missing. That might be a little piece of information you can give the mayor. It's like,
Right.
walk in and go, oh, by the way, did you know? Yeah, Chief Linden has been not where he's supposed to be right now.
Right. Just so you know, his body's sort of not in the morgue, and we don't really know where it is. But
Right,
hey, there,
yeah.
there you go. Oops.
Yeah, might want to look into that.
I mean, that doesn't usually happen, does it? You know, bodies up and go missing from the morgue.
In New Orleans, one never knows about these things. Yeah, they do. The voodoo practitioners in this town do have a tendency to make zombies, so you never know.
You know, honestly, I think there's got to be a better hobby.
Yeah,
Just there's got to be something better to do than sitting around making zombies.
uh, Magnus is like, and I've never heard any stories about where the zombies actually helped anything. Uh, Unlike ghouls that vampires make, they we usually have jobs for them, things they can do. I've never heard of a voodoo priestess ever using zombies for anything other than to go, hey, look what I just made, you know. Yeah.
Right.
But,
Just practicing, just seeing if they could do it or what.
right. Or they'll do it to, and this is slightly above game, I heard that they'll do it to people that they don't like
Mm.
just because cause it pisses them off and they're like, you know, so you did this to me, I'll turn you into a zombie and see how you like that shit,
Right.
But, you know, so, uh, and he goes, I, I'm gonna take the Porsche to the morgue. Uh, how do you want to get to uh, the police department? Or do you want me to drop you off? Or do you want the Lily to bring the car around?
No, you mind if I just take one of your cars and I'll drive?
That works. What would be your preference?
Well, I mean, something not too conspicuous. I mean,
Oh, you don't want to take the McLaren out for a spin and what did you Magnus is like, I don't think I ever asked. What do you drive when you're in Louisville?
oh, I've got a pickup truck.
Well,
Everybody in Louisville's got one of those.
I do have one pickup truck in the warehouse if you wanted to feel more comfortable with that. But you can, the rest of them are kind of, high end sports cars, so I'm not sure what you would prefer.
Yeah, I'll give the truck a span.
Yeah, it's a Magnus turned to you and goes, it's a brand new uh, F-150 double cab with about every option you could ever want. So, and it's got a V8 in it, so it'll do 140 if you need to. But I would hope that you wouldn't need to be going 140 in a pickup truck. But, you
Unless I'm in the middle of a car chase, I don't think I'd have to. And hopefully that's not going to happen.
know, so, yeah. And he pulled out his phone and called Lily and goes, I need you to bring the pickup truck around. And oh, if Eddie's there, have him bring the Porsche around too. And he puts it on speaker, and you hear Sarah laughing in the background. Uh, Apparently, she's throwing things at Eddie, and Eddie has to dodge everything because what she's throwing at him is like car tools and shit like.
Oh, jeez.
like 'cause she's laughing her head off, and Eddie's having to dodge things and stuff like that. And Lily comes back and goes, I'll let Eddie know he probably wants to get out of here anyway before Sarah nails him with something. And then she hangs up. It's like, she turns to you and goes, he turns to you and goes, Sarah's gotten a little more, shall we say, rambunctious uh, recently. Uh, I don't know if that's a werewolf thing or what that is, but
I think that's a preteen girl thing.
so when puberty hits and it mixes with werewolf, you've got we should all run and hide somewhere. What you're
Yeah,
saying? Yeah,
we should definitely, have an escape plan when we're out
right.
of town.
Yeah. Like, okay. So, few minutes later, Eddie walks in and hands Magnus the keys to the Porsche and goes, if I'm gonna keep playing with Sarah, I need armor. And we gotta lock up the tools in the garage because, even though I'm a vampire, I don't want to get hit in the head with hammers. you know, would be a bad thing.
Right, yeah, it would recover, but it would still hurt.
Yeah. I like Sarah, but this is getting ridiculous. And shortly after that, the Lily walks in and hands you the keys to the pickup truck. She says, both cars are full of gas, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. And uh, recently done maintenance on everything, so all the cars in the warehouse should be good. And she glances over at Eddie and then turns and walks away. Mm. And Eddie is like, "What are you guys doing? And do you need me to help you with anything?"
You go up there? You hear that? No, let me go say hi. Well, so I tell Eddie I don't think I'm going to need a services. I'm just going to head on over to the police station and see what I can figure out about this guy who's calling himself the deputy sheriff.
Mm. He says, "Okay," but Magnus stops him and goes, "I'm going to give you two names and a phone number. These are the two Maquette spies that I hired. I'm going to call them and tell them that I'm going to send you to them. Uh, I want you to talk to them and see what they've been able to find out, because I'm going to be over at the morgue because the police chief's body is missing." And you see Eddie's jaw drop. It's like, "What?" It's like, "Yep." The police chief's body is missing from his cabinet in the morgue. And that's a problem. So, uh, so um, Magnus picks up his phone and makes a call. And it's a very short call. He's like, "I'm sending an associate of mine to talk to you." And they're like, "Okay," and hang up. And so at that point, the three of you sort of split off. You, you go down and out the door and jump in the pickup truck. Magnus follows you and goes out and jumps in the Porsche. And Eddie heads back to the uh, car warehouse where where he parks his own vehicle and jumps into that. And, but before he does, he stops in front of Lily and tells her what's going on in case uh, one of you need to call her for assistance. You know, you really don't know much about Lily because all she's ever done is be the chauffeur and take care of the cars and stuff. So you're like, "Why is Eddie telling her what we're doing?" But oh, and as you're walking, getting into the car, you hear Chef Wong go, "Don't be too long with this, 'cause dinner's gonna be done uh, probably in an hour or so. So don't be gone too long."
All right, I'll try not to be.
Because I think I'm gonna go Mexican tonight, because I haven't done that in a while. Um, as Eddie's talking to Lily, you see Sarah walk up and sort of squeeze between them because she wants to know what's going on. Lily reaches down and sort of pats her on the head. Eddie Eddie completely ignores her because yeah, he's still recovering from having tools thrown at him.
Right.
Then, so you guys get your perspective vehicles and head off. And um, it's Saturday night in uh, New Orleans, so traffic is actually pretty nasty because the weekends are when New Orleans really gets busy, and especially at night on a Saturday. There's drunks driving around everywhere. Yeah,
Right. Like in Vegas.
right. Although Vegas is 3 times worse, but
Yeah.
yeah, all the Tulane college kids from New Orleans are out because it's a Saturday night and they're all out getting wasted and shit. So you gotta be careful as you make your way to the police department. But you finally get there, and you walk up to through the door and up to the front desk. There's an officer, which there always is at the front desk, you know, wanting to know why you're here and who you want to see
Hmm.
and all that. So you walk up to them, and what you see is a wiry, tall, red-haired kid that looks like he's barely 21, and he's in a you know, sheriff's department outfit. He's like, "Hi, how could I help you tonight?"
Oh, well. So I'm trying to think how to go about this. Because you don't randomly just walk up and ask about another guy's car, right? So,
Right? Could
so I'm
you
trying
you don't even know if this kid knows the person you're talking about.
to, right. So I guess the way I go about it, I'll tell him that, the deputy sheriff and I had planned to meet him, and I said, well, I'm not sure. Is he here? I'm not sure I saw his car in the lot. I mean, I kind of forget what he drives. If I knew what his car looked like, I could see if he was here or not. And I give her the name that he gave
Yeah.
me, whether it's his real name or not, which I don't remember what it is.
And the kid punches it into the computer as they would these days because everything's on computer. The only deputy here right now is Deputy Harrison. Um, it could be Deputy Collins, but he's not here. Uh, and Deputy Collins is the actual deputy sheriff that you talked to that told you that, you know, he had no idea there was another,
Right. So,
so,
so is Harrison the one I'm looking for then, or is there another one?
yeah, it would be him. It would
Oh,
be,
okay.
because,
Okay, so I'll say, oh, he is here. All right. Um,
and the guy, the guy looks up at you kind of oddly and goes, he drives a green Jeep with, it's got a lift kit on it and large tires and stuff. I guess he goes out in the woods on weekends or something. But yeah, if you go out, if you look out the big window by the door, you can see a uh, considerably raised up green Jeep with large tires on it. In fact, it's sitting in a guest parking space, which is odd because the people that work there usually park their cars in the back or whatever so that the people can use the guest parking spaces. But he's got his Jeep sitting up front by the, like, it's not, it's right next to a handicap spot, but it's there. So what are you going to do?
well, I'm thinking with him standing here, it'd be kind of awkward if I just walked out the door and ransacked this guy's Jeep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh shoot, I forgot something in my car, so I'm gonna go back out to the truck in the parking lot, and then wait a little while, and then sort of wander over to the Jeep.
Yeah, because you're parked a couple roads back from it on the other side. Yeah. So you do that, and the kid doesn't think anything of it, and goes back to what he's doing till you go back out to your car and you wait a couple of minutes, and then you make your way over to this guy's Jeep. And so, how do you want to do this? You,
Well, um, first of all, we'll make sure no one's around that can see me. Then I guess,
currently, the only two cars in the front of the parking lot are your car and the Jeep.
okay,
There's yeah, there's no, for lack of a better term, customers right now. So you're basically clear to
okay,
do what you need to do.
okay. So I guess I'll start by just sort of casually looking in the windows and see if there's anything just like laying around on the seats that look suspicious or anything. I'll start there.
Okay. give me a um, um, give me a streetwise and investigation.
Okay.
Because even though you're snooping around in his car, you're also uh, half keeping an eye on in case anybody else drives into the parking lot.
Okay. No successes, but no ones. So just straight failure.
Well, the windows on his Jeep are uh, blacked out. He's got that dark
Uh,
tinting on his
dark tint.
windows, which it does get hot in New Orleans, but there there's not like a major amount of sun, so don't know why he would have that, but he does.
Well, that in itself is kind of suspicious then, because obviously he's got something to hide, right? At least that's what I'm thinking.
Either that or he really hates the sun, which could lead to other
Well,
possibilities.
well, I mean, I do understand that.
Yeah.
I'm not too fond of it myself. So, I guess I'll try the driver's side door and see if it's unlocked.
Um, since you're basically trying to break into his Jeep, give me a larceny and strength check.
Okay. Okay, that is one success.
Okay. You are able to you actually just use your strength and basically pull the door open. How you're going to make it where it doesn't look like the door's been, you know, jammed, pulled open when you're done is another question. Because there wasn't a lock on the door. It's one of the newer ones where there's a number pad, so
Okay.
there's a combination lock on the door, and instead of fussing with that, you just yanked on the door with vampire strength and like ripped the door open.
Okay, well, so I guess I'll slide on in and open the glove box and see if I can find, registration that would have his real name on it and all.
Give me a stealth and investigation roll because you're still trying to do this sort of secretly. Oh,
Right?
Only when you yanked the door open, it did make some noise. Actually, its car alarm went off.
Okay, well, that's a wash because I got it was 10, but I also got a 1. So not a botch, but nothing.
Well, yeah. So apparently the glove box in this thing isn't where you're used to it being, and you can't find it. But you do notice one thing as you glance in the back seat. Uh, you see 6 automatic weapons in the back seat. I mean, you know that sometimes the sheriff and the police department too carry M16s in their cars, but this guy's got 6 of them in the back seat.
So I'm wondering if he's an illegal arms dealer or what, because that's definitely pretty strange. So I'm gonna. I mean, I know it's nighttime and it's dark and all, but as best I can, I'm gonna snap a few pictures of those with my phone.
Okay,
I mean, I do have a flash on my phone
right.
camera, so I'll use that. But yeah, because this might not be necessarily pertinent to what we're trying to figure out and all, but it's definitely pretty weird.
Yeah. Doug, why would he have 6 machine guns in his back seat of his Jeep?
Right, that's definitely something not necessarily legal is going on here.
Right.
Then I guess I'll keep looking for the registration. I mean, just to see if I can figure out who this guy really is, because that's sort of
Oh,
what I'm trying to do here.
give me same stealth and investigation roll.
Okay, that's 2 successes and one of them's a 10. So roll that. Oh, that's another 10. And that's a 9. So 4 successes altogether.
Nice. Yeah. Um, you notice that there's I forget what they call them, the little area between the 2 bucket seats.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even know there was a name for that area. We just
Well,
call it the middle part.
it's the spot where the cup holders are and all that.
Right.
Uh, there's actually a name for it, but I forget what it is at the moment. Um, because it also has a little storage compartment, and behind the cup holder, sticking out of the storage compartment, you see the edge of what looks like a piece of paper. So what are you gonna do?
Well, I guess I'll grab it and see what it is.
Well, when you grab the edge of the paper, it flips the top on the storage compartment open. You see, you see a folded yellow piece of paper, but you also see 2. They look like test tubes with lids on them.
Okay.
One of them is red. It looks like blood. The other one is green, but it looks like powder.
Hmm.
So what do you do? You there? Or did you freeze on me? Looks like you froze on me. Yep. Um, Hello. After a little bit of technical difficulty, we're back. Um, so now that you've found the piece of paper and the two vials, what are you gonna do?
Okay, so I know what the vials were, but what was the paper? Was that the registration or was it something else? Or
You
was it
have
just
a
wrapped around the vials?
no. It was sitting next to them. You haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll look at the paper first thing.
It is. Well, there's actually two. Uh, Once you unfold it, there's two pieces of paper there. Um, One is, in fact, the registration you've been looking for. The other one looks to be a receipt from what looks to be a local pharmacy that is one of the ones they're called a compound pharmacy, where they make stuff in house, and it seems to be a receipt for that whatever's in that green vial.
Okay,
Um,
and on the registration, is the name different than the one he gave the police department he's working with?
the name on the registration is um, Juan Hector Rivera,
So it's definitely a different name.
and it gives an address that is actually um, across town. And uh, what you would know is one of the, won't say rich areas, but definitely upper middle class. It's a neighborhood maybe a mile and a half from where Magnus's estate is.
Okay, so I'm gonna get my phone out. I'm gonna take pictures of both pieces of paper and the vials. Take like a close up of each,
Yeah,
and then I guess I'll sneak on out of the car and try to close the door and see what happens at that point. Because I do have an idea if it doesn't work right, but
you try to close it, and but basically both the hinges on the door are sprung because you just ripped the door open. Uh,
Okay. So I'm a vampire, right? I have super strength.
right.
I'm gonna punch the door like and make a dent in it, and I'm gonna scribble a note saying, "Hey man, so sorry. I'll open my car door, rammed yours real hard by accident. Think I fucked your door up. Sorry I can't stick around and exchange information, but I don't have insurance, so you know,
Uh,
sorry." And I'm not gonna sign it, but I'm gonna leave this note.
okay. Okay.
So he thinks that someone just like bashed the fuck all the fuck out of his door with their car door and
Right.
then just took off.
It's like if you cause an accident in the sheriff's department's parking lot, would you hang around? Yeah. And considering it's supposedly a deputy sheriff car, so yeah. So you have a picture of the pharmacy receipt that has the address of the pharmacy on it, and you have a picture of uh, the registration that has his name, address, and phone number on it. So,
And have a picture of each of the vials.
yeah, and you have a picture of each of the vials. What's your next move from here?
Okay. Well, I'm figuring there's not a whole lot I can do now because he's here. If I'm gonna question the other, well, my first, the first thing I was there really there for was I was gonna question the other police, the cops and stuff about
Right,
him. But if he's there, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, it would be better if I could figure out his schedule and come on the date when he wasn't here and ask questions about him.
yeah. Well,
And that would give me a good time to come up with a good cover story for asking questions about him.
yeah. So, okay. So, questioning or finding out info on him is put on hold for at least another night. So, what else do you want to do?
Well, I guess, I mean, I only have a picture of it, of course. I didn't take the vial, but I guess I could, while I'm down here, I could stop into one or a couple of the voodoo priestesses shops and see if they would have any idea what this green powder stuff is.
Yeah. Well, you know where Mabel's, did we say it was her daughter?
It was her sister.
Her sister. Okay. Because for a minute I was thinking niece and I knew that wasn't right. So, okay. You know where Mabel's sister's shop is. So, you could easily drive down there. Although, when I say easily, I'm not counting the traffic on a Saturday night in the uh, more interesting part of town. Shall
Right.
we put it that way? But, you know, without too much frustration, you're able to get there. You're lucky that most of the voodoo shops stay open late, especially on Saturdays, for the unsuspecting helpless tourists that walk in the door. Um, so You walk into Mabel's sister's shop, but she's not there. Mabel is there. She sees you, walks around the counter, walks over to you, and, you know, before you know it, she's hugging you. It's like, hey, Dee Dee, how you doing? Haven't been to the bar lately.
Oh, well, there's stuff going on.
Really? And what would that be?
Well, apparently there's somebody who's not necessarily supposed to be there posing as the deputy sheriff for one thing.
You're not telling me that Deputy Collins isn't Deputy Collins, are you?
Well, according to the well, no, Collins is the one that is the correct is
Right.
the right. No, it's not Collins. It's someone else claiming to be a deputy sheriff.
Hmm.
Deputy Collins is who he is. Just this other
Right.
guy.
Right. Well, that's good because Collins comes in my bar almost every day. So, I just like to know who I'm dealing with. Uh, so what's going on?
Well, I was just over there doing some investigating in his car, shall we say, and found some kind of weird stuff. I pull up the picture of the vial of green powder, and I'm like, I don't know if you'd have any idea what this is, but if you do have an idea, it would be helpful.
she looks, she takes a closer look at it and goes, damn, I was hoping it wasn't that.
Well, that
Uh,
doesn't sound good.
but yeah, I know what this is.
And
And I have no idea why he would have this unless he's seriously not who we think he is.
what is it exactly?
Well, I'll I'll show you. And she goes, I gotta go in the back for 1 second. I'll be right back. And she disappears from behind the counter. Comes back a couple minutes later with this big, I mean, big book. Not not dimension wise, but thickness wise. This is a big book. And she starts flipping through it and goes, well, many, many years ago, the voodoo priestess in the area developed a mixture to uh, turn people into zombies. You may have heard about it because people make fun of it. They're like, oh, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay. And she opens the book to a specific page, and there's a recipe on that page. She goes, points to the recipe. That's it. And you know what? When you put all the ingredients together, turns green. And
So
then
this is
she
the
points to,
finished formula right here then.
yeah. And then she looks, you know, what else did you find in this guy's car?
Well, I show her the receipt for that. So we obviously bought it somewhere, and I show her the picture of the other vial that looked like blood, and then I'll show her the picture of the registration last, and I'll ask her if this name, the long shot, of course, ask her if this name happens to mean anything to her.
She goes, nope, ne- never, never heard that name. And I'm assuming the red vial in the picture's blood.
It looks like it. And I'm thinking to myself that I probably should have tried to grab a little sample just so we could take it to probably not the police department, but see if Magnus knew anybody around here who could run it and say whose it is for one thing. Because if it's um, the the deceased police chiefs, that would be more than a coincidence. And I'm thinking I need to go back to that Jeep and get a little sample of what's in that vial.
Do you say this to Mabel?
Sort of like I'm talking to myself, but I am talking out loud. So yeah, I kind of.
Well, and Mabel says, you're going to get a sample of one of them, get a sample of both of them, so that I can compare it to this and make sure that that's what we're dealing with.
Well, I'm not really equipped to do that, so I'll ask her, does she happen to have any like little anything to put a couple of samples in that I
Well,
can.
she goes over to the shelf and gets two little glass bottles with cork stoppers in them and hands them to you and goes, "This is a voodoo shop. We have bottles for ingredients all over the place." So,
Um, for
uh,
that matter, would you happen to know anybody who could run a test on these? You got anyone in with the police department yourself?
well, you mean as far as the blood sample goes?
Yeah.
Not the police department. I have a friend who works in the hospital, though.
Well, if you could get them to run a sample on that, that might help out. I mean, I'm just curious. I basically, like I said, want to know if it's our zombie friend's blood, if that is what he is at this point.
Uh, yeah, if you give me the sample, I can get it to them. Might take a day or two to give them time to get it to the lab and run it. But yeah, they can.
Well, that's all right.
And if you bring me a sample of the green stuff, I can compare the ingredients in it to this recipe and make sure about that.
All right. So I guess I could take off and get back to the police department now and see if I can grab those samples real quick and bring them back here.
Yeah. Well, shop should be open for another hour or two if you can manage to get it and
Oh,
get.
yeah. Hopefully, it only take a few minutes, quick as I can. I mean, I am still
Yeah.
technically breaking and entering.
Right. Yeah. So,
Good thing I don't leave fingerprints. That's one thing vampires
well,
don't
yeah.
have to worry about.
That's that's true. So You tell Mabel you'll be back in a little bit, and you head back over to the sheriff's office. Uh, there are a couple more cars in the parking lot now than there were when you were there, but his car is in fact still there. The Jeep is still there. The note on the door, though, is gone.
So he's been to his car, or somebody has.
Yeah. So do you just do you park next to it and jump out and try to
Yeah, I'll
investigate?
do that, but I'll make sure, look around, make sure nobody's like in the parking lot or looking at, or standing in the door of the police department or anything.
So uh, give me a stealth and investigation roll.
Okay, that's a 10. So one success total.
Uh, you look around and there's nobody there. And you pull the door open. eh, It opens fairly easily because it doesn't close anymore. So, uh, and you know what you're looking for now. So you head straight to the console between the seats where you found this stuff before. You open it up. The two vials are there. The registration's gone.
Okay, well, that doesn't matter because I got a picture. So,
So what do you do?
well, as quickly as I can, I'm going to put a little tiny sample of each in the bottles, one each in the bottles. Not enough that I think he'd notice anything missing, but enough to run a test on.
Okay. Um, mm, give me a dexterity and stealth this time.
Dexterity and stealth. Okay.
See if you can pull this off without anybody noticing.
Okay, that is two successes.
You are able to get samples of both. You put corks back in your jar and put them back where you were keeping them.
Okay, so I'll jump back in my borrowed truck and head back on over to the
As you
shop.
are just climbing into the truck, you notice that this guy is headed toward the door, like he's coming out of the door. And, but you were able to get in your pickup truck before he was able to see you.
Right, so just gonna pull on out of the parking lot, normal pace, just someone here, just
Yeah,
driving away and go back to the shop.
right. So you make it back to the shop. Um, little easier now because it's a little bit later and the traffic calmed down a little bit. And you walk into the shop and Mabel. Mabel's busy helping this couple. They look for all in the world like a husband and wife tourists. You know, they're asking her all kinds of questions. Half of them are ridiculous. You know, she's showing them various things because they keep all the tourist kind of stuff out, and
Mhm.
all the important stuff is in the back, so nobody sees it or wants to fuss with it. Uh, and so she's showing them things. And you see the wife of the couple, or at least the girl of the couple, step up next to Mabel and whisper something. And she's like, well, think about it, and if you truly want it done, come back to me in a couple of days. And she nods her head. Um, the couple walk over to the counter they bought, he's got a, you know, fake voodoo doll in his hand, all this. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so they pay for the stuff that they bought, walk out the door, and she looks back and says, I'll be getting a hold of you in a couple of days. Mabel just nods her head. They leave, and you step up to the counter where Mabel is. So she goes, couple should have never gotten together.
She looking for a way to get rid of him?
Technically, yes.
Do you get that a lot?
We get it more than you would think because people think it's easier to do this than to get a divorce and go through all the hassle of doing that. They're like, if he does, she wants him to disappear. She thinks if he disappears, she can still get his money without having to divorce him.
Yeah, well, that depends on what they find when they investigate his disappearance, I
Yeah.
guess, because it might end up she might end up in jail rather than rich.
Well, sadly enough, that's happened occasionally.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
So, uh, got me a sale. She claims she's gonna be back in a couple of days. I'll probably never see her again. Doesn't matter to me. So, were you successful?
I'll pull out the little vials out of my purse and I'll give them to her and say, "Yeah, I was able to get them."
She takes the corks off of both of them and smells both of them. Hmm. A positive blood. That's all I can tell you about that. I can't tell you who it belongs to. Um,
Well, if you could get it to your friend at the hospital and see if they can run it, then get back to me.
I'll do that. I'll drop it off uh, tomorrow night before I open the bar. Um, but then she looks at the other vial. She pours a little tiny bit of it out on the counter. and smelled it and stirred it around with her finger. Well, I pretty much thought I was right. And that's what we've got here. Your friend is either a voodoo priest or he's working for one because he got the vial of blood and this zombie powder. So, which are the two things you need to make a zombie? So he's either planning on making one or somebody he's associated with is planning to make one.
Or he's already made one.
Mm, he wouldn't have the samples if he'd already done it. The samples would have been used up. So, uh, because you basically use the powder to put the person in a trance or some of it, and then you use their blood to control them.
Mm.
And the rest of the powder gets burnt during the ceremony. Uh, so, yeah, you at least have a little bit of time to find out who it is, what's going on, and whether you want to stop it or not.
Mm.
I wouldn't say you have a lot of time, but you have a little bit anyway. Oh, at least maybe tonight, tomorrow night,
All right.
because by tomorrow night he will either have done the ritual himself or given the ingredients to whoever's going to do it. So,
Okay, so I guess it's important to find out whose blood this is then.
yes, and I will have that for you at the bar by hopefully by tomorrow night, by sometime tomorrow night. I'll tell my friend at the hospital to rush this if they can possibly do that. So, how how how's the rest of your group doing at the moment?
Well, Magnus is doing better, and
Good.
he's off today. What was he gonna do tonight?
He's over at the morgue.
Yeah, that's right. He's headed over the morgue because oh, here's a little bit of information you don't know yet. At least I don't think you do. The body of the sheriff is missing from the morgue.
That's a rather odd development.
Yeah, so he's Magnus is over there trying to figure out what what the hell's going on with that.
Uh, she says, I hope he's able to find out something. Things are just getting weirder every night these days.
Yeah, well, I feel like I've gathered some relatively important information, and this guy might actually be who we're looking for if he's mixed up in all this voodoo shit.
Yeah. Oh, That was Chef Wong.
Chef Wong is, Chef Wong. Although I saw a little different side of him tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you remember that little girl we brought into your bar once? The little werewolf kid?
Oh, Sarah?
Yeah, she and Chef Wong were roughhousing around in the dining room earlier.
Yeah, that seems odd for him, but
Yeah, but honestly, I think everybody just loves Sarah. She's kind
yeah,
of irresistible.
yeah. Mm. Well,
And found out Magnus's parents want to visit, but I think he tried to put him off for just now because it's not a great time with everything else going on.
Mabel's like, yeah, that wouldn't be good. They have incredibly large amounts of money, but they are, as most rich people are, somewhat conservative. And even though they are vampires, it probably wouldn't be the best time for them to show up.
Well, yeah, not with Inga, kind of. Who knows what's going on with her
Right,
and all this other stuff that we're dealing with. So.
yeah. You gonna tell her about the party?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Speaking of Magnus, now he wants to have a little get together in a few nights. You're invited.
Okay. Another chance to eat Chef Wong's cooking and get into another argument with him. Apparently,
Is that
that's
something you're looking forward to then?
the cooking. Yes, the argument not so much. But it seemed to be something he likes to do. So, see what happens when you've been in a vampire as long as he is. You get old and crotchety at that point.
Yeah, well, just don't walk in and say his shipment or something happened with his shipment, then he'll really get mad.
Yeah, a boy needs to learn how to party more. Stop being so grumpy.
Yeah.
But well, when you guys get plans finalized and know exactly what night you're gonna do it, let me know so I can figure out whether I need to get a replacement at the bar or just shut it down for a night.
All right.
But yeah, but we've definitely got somebody who's wanting to make a zombie. So might want to pass that along to the rest of your group in case you can do anything about it.
Oh, yeah, this is very important information. Definitely be passing that along.
Mm. And her, uh, she closes her eyes for a second. I just had a horrible thought, which I hope isn't true.
Yeah.
That blood happens to belong to the deceased, you know, head of the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
You take his blood and this green powder And you said the body's missing?
Yes.
Put that together.
Wait, what was that?
The the sheriff's the head of the sheriff department's body is missing.
Right.
If that is his blood and you have the zombie powder, what does that tell you?
That he's planning on bringing the sheriff back as a zombie.
Yeah.
So that also
Or
tells me that, unlike I was thinking, it hasn't already been done, because I was thinking it had already been done.
no.
But can
Uh,
you do that to a dead body? I mean, I thought they had to be alive.
mm, all the stories I've heard they were, but I'm not.
Okay, so you might want to see if you can get a little bit of a rush on that blood analyzing there.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna talk to the guy and see if he can have it for you by tomorrow night.
Yeah, and just give me a call whenever. Tell me what you found out, because, when honestly, even if it's not his, then at least we'd have a potential victim to
Yeah,
try to save before anything happens,
yeah, but
which
just
opens up its own huge set of complications. But you know,
but just think if whoever's doing this has the power to control the head of the sheriff's department, that could seriously complicate things.
well, you'd think the body would be kind of beyond being usable at this point. He's been dead for quite some time.
Well, yeah, but if it's been in the morgue freezer for a while, decomposition would have been slowed down. Now,
True.
once he gets out into daylight and stuff, the decomposition's going to speed back up again. And he won't be a he won't be a working zombie for very long because the body just won't do that. But
Right.
and I don't even know if the person doing it knows that. Yeah. In fact, since we don't know who's doing it, we don't know what their overall plan is. But
Right.
yeah, for all the for all the person making him knows he's gonna bring him back, and then the dude's just gonna fall apart. But you know, but, so yeah, I I'm hopefully my sister will be back, so I'll be at the bar tomorrow night. But when I find out anything, I will give you a call.
Right. All right. Thank you very much.
And until, like I said, as soon as you and Magnus decide on a set date and time for your party, let me know.
All right. I will.
But it's always great to see you, but it's time to close so I can get out of here.
All
So,
right.
so she gives you another hug and escorts you out the door, and you hear the door lock behind you as she starts the process of closing things down. So, what are you gonna do?
Well, at this point, I guess I'm going to head on back to Magnus's house.
Because it's rapidly approaching the time that Chef Wong said that dinner would be done. You are somewhat surprised that you were able to do all of this in an hour, even with traffic. So, uh, you head back. Uh, you're able to get there fairly easily. Uh, when you get there, you smell the distinct smell of Mexican food. And you walk in the door and down the hall, and everybody is seated at the table in the great hall. And Sarah goes, "You made it just in time. He hasn't started serving yet."
Oh, good. We'll stay on his good side for a little while longer.
Yeah, Magnus is like, "Yeah, he won't. Uh, you won't get yelled at for being late this time."
Right.
And Chef Wong comes out with the first plate, sets it in front of Magnus. It looks like, you know, enchiladas and stuff. and, and then he serves you and then Eddie and Lily. And finally, uh, he comes out with a uh, mixing bowl, size bowl, full of like taco meat,
Hmm.
and sets it in front of Sarah. He goes, "This is as close as I could get to Mexican for something that you would eat. So here you go." And she doesn't even use her hands. She just sort of, you know, eats it, eats it the way a dog would eat if they're
Right.
sticking their bowl, their nose in a bowl. So, uh, you find out that Lily and Eddie have already uh, agreed to come to the party because Magnus told them about it. Chef Wong is like, "So there'll be what, 5 of you?"
Well, I mentioned it to Mabel. She said to let her know when we've got a date set. So I guess that would make six if she comes.
Yeah, cool. Chef Wong is like not really sure what this party is for, but and Magnus looks at you and chuckles, sort of like saying to you they don't know my plan as of yet. Uh, so you guys leisurely finish your dinner, and then when you're sipping after dinner drinks, whether that be coffee, soda, or something stronger, well, it's blood basically, but
Right.
uh, Chef Wong makes it taste like other stuff, like he does with his food. So you can actually get uh, blood that tastes almost like coffee. Not quite, but almost. Um, Magnus says, okay, time for everybody to spill what they found out today.
All right, so I'll tell them about well everything, and I'll say, and it kind of looks like this guy, and I'll give him his real name that was on the thing, which I don't remember what it was right now.
Juan Rivera.
Yeah, say it looks like this is the guy we might be looking for because he seems to be mixed up in some sort of voodoo shit. So I'll explain what Mabel said about the powder and I'll tell them that she's got someone analyzing the blood, see whose it is, and she'll get back to me ASAP on that. But so yeah, I guess I did find some stuff out.
Magnus is like, this is not good. We don't need somebody going around making zombies in this town.
No, we don't.
Especially if he's trying to bring back the head of the sheriff's department. Not a positive thing to do.
Right. And I mean, if he is doing that, like, why?
Yeah. And it can't be him that's actually doing this unless he knows much more about voodoo than any of us know, because that is not a simple thing to do.
Right.
So I would venture to guess that he's just getting ingredients for somebody else who knows how to do it. So, and along that line, I went and talked to the assistant coroner. And
And what did you find out?
uh, he's the one that found the empty uh, cabinet, but he claims he wasn't there when the body was taken because he didn't see anybody. But then he thought about it and like, these days we have video cameras in here that record everything that we do. Like when we do an autopsy, there's a video going
Right.
recording it. So there might be video footage depending on how far back this happened. Um, he told me to come back tomorrow night and he would have had the time to collect the footage from. I told him to go back a week or two, and he said he could do that by tomorrow night. Uh, and then Eddie's like, yeah, I met with your two uh, new associates. They were polite enough, but they just give off the feeling of being, how do I want to put this? Uh, Very secretive and would have no problem killing you and going on their way. Um, Luckily, we're vampires, but uh, yeah, They've noticed this guy in the police department or in the sheriff's department,
Right.
and they said, yeah, he does seem a little strange. Um, and they're like, he's always got his phone with him, and it always seems like he's on the phone. Uh, Not very effective as a sheriff's deputy, in my opinion. But when you have your phone attached to your face, it's sort of hard to do other things. So,
True.
yeah. But they said they would keep an eye and see if they can to identify who was on the other end of the phone. They said they'd get back to one of us as soon as they had any info. But they agree that this whole thing has been extremely weird.
Well, it certainly has been. It's getting weirder, I think.
Yeah. One of the two of them mumbled a question as to whether the seven were involved in this. Yeah. You know how they want to eliminate vampire types. So
Right. Yes. I heard of them.
one of them wondered if they were involved in this. Told
Well,
them,
do you think they might have been?
well, uh, Eddie's like, we don't know who this guy is working for. We, yeah, he's taking blood and voodoo powder samples for what? For who's he doing it for? Is my main
Right.
question. So we don't know what this guy's actually up to. So they could be involved. The seven could be involved in this, but seems sort of convoluted for something that they would want to do. They they tend to come up to your face and want to like ki- kill you. So I can't see them being stealthy about stuff, but you never know. But, but that's pretty much all I could get today. Because if these things are seven, they're not gonna talk to you. They're not gonna tell you what their plans are and all this stuff. So,
Right.
but even them, with the way things have happened, it doesn't seem like something that they would do either. Something has definitely brought them here. But as far as what that is, I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. So, what's our next step then in all of this?
Well, don't you got somewhere you gotta go tomorrow, correct?
Tomorrow.
Didn't, uh, oh, Yeah, Mabel said that she would give you.
Right. I mean, I don't know that there's anywhere I need to go, but she was going to give me a call and give me the results, hopefully.
Okay. That blood sample, identifying the blood sample is what we're really waiting on at this point.
Right. So we can't really do anything except hang around and wait for Mabel to give me a ring.
Yeah. You hear Chef Wong from the kitchen. It's like, if I'm going to do a deluxe party in 2 days, I'm going to need help. Yeah. Even, even though there is only half a dozen of you at this party. Sarah uh, immediately volunteers. He's like, uh, Chef Wong is a nice old guy. I'll help him if he needs it. And you're all looking at her like, are you kidding?
Like, yeah, like, okay. Says you.
It's like, nice old guy. you, you see Magnus look at you like, what? And then his second comment is, what the hell has she done to him?
Right.
Because yeah, that's not normal. And uh, and Magnus laughs and goes, well, if he's suddenly into kids, somebody better tell Mabel before something goes sideways. Uh, but so uh, Magnus is like, so what can we do while we're waiting to get the blood results back?
Well, I guess if we could find out whether or not he this so-called sheriff's deputy is on duty tomorrow, because if he's not, then we can go back and try to think of some excuse to be asking questions about him at the station. But we, like
Yeah,
I said, we have to figure out his schedule first. But
well,
you have to think of a reason we'd be asking questions about him too. So
and
if we
actually,
figure,
yeah,
yeah,
and actually, if he is at work one day or one night, somebody could go check out the address on the registration form
right.
to see if he actually is who he told DMV he was.
Right. And also, if he's not there, then we could get into his house real quick, like, and see if
Yeah,
there's anything
that's true.
incriminating in there. I mean, it's kind of dangerous, but we can do it right.
Uh, well, all of us are vampires. We have no idea what this guy is. Yeah, because it doesn't seem like he's a vampire, but it all.
Right.
I'm not convinced he's completely human either. Sarah's like, I'll take your security guys and we'll go bust into his house. Yeah,
No, I mean, the security guys, yes, you know. Too dangerous for you.
he's, she's like, I'm a werewolf too, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Uh,
you're not a very big one, and I kind of pat her on the head, and I'm thinking she better not like bite my jugular
yeah,
out tonight.
yeah. Well, what I'll do is I'll be lookout for the security guys in case anybody tried to show up at his place while they're inside.
Well, there's that. Yeah, that would work.
Mm. Uh, Eddie's like, there should be some way to keep this guy under surveillance where we know what he's doing and where he's going. Anybody got a device we can stick in his car?
Oh, only my personal cell phone. I don't think I want to do that.
No. Um, Magnus is like, no, what Eddie's talking about is, they used to call them low jacks, where you can, if your car,
Oh, okay. All right. No, I don't have anything like that.
if your car gets stolen, it'll track where your car goes. And Magnus is like, I'm sure they've made upgrades since those things first came out. Uh, Actually, but I could just have the two maquettes follow him because he won't know who they are. He's never seen them. So they could follow him around and see where he goes.
That would work.
So he turns to Eddie and goes, why don't you call him and tell him to do that? He's like, I can give it a shot and see if they're home. But yeah, and uh, with that, you guys pretty much yeah, finish your dinner without any major consequences. And you, Magnus, and Eddie, and Sarah wander off into the living room as Chef Wong is cleaning things up at the table. And Eddie goes, well, I'm going to go back out to the warehouse and tell Lily what's going on. Uh, and if this party's in 2 days, she'll probably need that much time to figure out what she wants to wear. By the way, what should we wear to this party? And
Well,
Magnus,
is it supposed to be like a formal thing or more casual?
no, Magnus is like, oh, this is just a casual get together with friends. I thought we've been doing all this stressful stuff that a night of not doing anything like that might be a good thing.
Yes, it certainly would. I think.
And yeah, since you know what Magnus is trying to do, he sort of looks at you and smiles. And so uh, Eddie goes, "Oh, that'll be easy then. That's just, genes and whatever. So, I'll, unless you need me for anything else, I will head out there and let her know."
All right.
Um, excuse me. Magnus says, if my security guys are gonna go over to uh, Juan's house, I better let them know in case they've got something else going on for tomorrow. She Sarah's like, no need. I'll run out there and tell them, because I am a honorary member of the securities crew now, so it's like my job. And Magnus smiles and goes, okay. But if they have any questions, like maybe the where this place is, yeah, have
Right.
them have them give me a call. So she runs off, and and she goes, "Oh, I should probably check on the dog anyway. It's probably feeding time." So, so she heads out the door, and that leaves you and Magnus sitting on the sofa, sipping goblets of blood that you snagged before you left the dinner table. He's like, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, this is at least we're figuring some stuff out, you know. I mean, I feel like we did gather some information today.
Well, yeah. Now we just have to find out who took the head of the sheriff department's body and what are they planning to do with it.
Right. Well, if you know, we may already know who did that. If this blood sample comes back positive for the sheriffs, then we'll know. We won't know
Well,
why, but we'll know who.
well, we'll know who probably took him because the fake deputy guy probably took him if that's the case. But
Right. Of course,
uh,
my question is, what exactly do we do if this blood sample comes up as somebody else's? You know, what if it's not the sheriff's? Then what are we gonna do? Try to find the person whose blood it is and warn them that
yeah,
they're going to be a zombie in a day or two? I mean, how is that going to go over?
well, and if it's blood from somebody else, we don't even know if they're still alive or not.
Right, but if we could get I mean, we'll be getting the name of whose it is so we could look that up and try
Right,
to find them.
yeah.
But the
But
question
what,
is, if we do find them, how do we go about it? Because that's kind of a weird thing to be approaching somebody with.
yeah, like, don't mind me, you've never met me, but I'm here to warn you that somebody's gonna try and make a zombie out of you.
Right. Like, hey, there's somebody who's pretending to work for the police department that wants to turn you into a zombie, so come with us and we'll put you into protective custody. I mean, how does
Yeah,
that sound, really?
in my basement. Yeah,
Right.
so yeah. And it would be very hard to keep somebody in my basement without them finding out that we're all vampires anyway.
Right. There is that.
So the choice would then be, do you want to be a zombie or a vampire? Make your choice.
That is sort of a, well, no, I can't really say it's a lose-lose situation because I am a vampire and there's really nothing wrong with it. So I guess it's not really a lose-lose situation.
Well, that depends. That depends on the other person's attitude about vampires.
Yeah.
And because I'm not thinking that my security crew is gonna find the sheriff's body in this guy's house when they go breaking in the door, which means, you know, we don't know who took the body and whether they're delivering it to somebody else or what the deal.
Right.
Um, that's hopefully I I would love it if the security crew could find like his his date book or diary where he writes down all his appointments and shit. He may actually tell us who he's taking the body to if that's him doing it.
Oh, I don't know. I think if we get a hold of him and do some questioning, it's going to take some persuasion to get him to tell us anything.
Well, see, if we get him, if he was silly enough to write an appointment down that's like, oh, at 2 o'clock I deliver the body to such and such, you know.
Right.
uh,
Well, considering he left blood and zombie powder in his car, then yeah, he might be the kind of person to write something down like that. Because
Cause you know,
that doesn't seem like a great place to just leave shit like that out in the open, you know. So he might
yeah,
not be very bright.
yeah, I wouldn't have left that stuff in my car, but you know, maybe yeah, whoever he's doing it for was like, bring me the body, bring me blood, and bring me the ingredients to do this.
Of course, you know, if nothing else, I might have actually slowed him down by a few days. He might want to not do anything out further till he gets his car door fixed. So I might have thrown a little bit of a, you know,
Yeah,
considering
I,
it was the driver's door and it doesn't close, he's gonna want that fixed.
yeah, I'm sure he was not happy when he came out and saw that. But that's the problem with those combination locks. Even if you know the combination, if you don't enter it quite right, the door won't open. So I, I wonder how many nights he's gotten done with his shift and then stood out there and tried to remember the combination to open that damn door.
Right.
Or even better yet, he comes out of a bar, he's, you know, 3/4 crushed from drinking after work, and
Right.
then he's got to remember the combination to the thing. I think that's one reason the car company did it, because your average drunk person not gonna remember a string of numbers to get in the door. So yeah, helps with drunk driving and all that fun. Yeah. but it also makes it difficult when you're trying to get to an appointment. Don't remember the combination.
Right.
But so I'd say at this point it's around midnight. Magnus is like, so what do you want to do before sunrise?
Well,
Because I think we've done all the investigative stuff we're going to do tonight.
yeah, I think that's just about all done.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I mean, I can think of something to do, but
And at this point, you hear Chef Wong go, yeah, I don't normally go to the store at midnight, but I think I'm going to do it to avoid the crowds. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'll be back before sunup. Uh, uh, oh, by the way, I'm taking Lily in the limo to the
all
grocery
right.
store just 'cause I think it'd be hilarious. See this limo drive up to the grocery store and park. Yeah. Magnus is like, just don't have any accidents in my limo. You hear Chef Wong walk out the back door, then just off the kitchen. He's like, well, that means you and I are the only two in the main house because I have a feeling that Sarah's gonna be out with Eddie and, well, Lily's gonna be off with Chef Wong. Maybe Sarah and Eddie will go with him.
Yeah, they could do that.
I'm sure Sarah could talk Chef Wong into getting all kinds of things she wanted.
Well, that might not be a bad thing because, he's not really used to having someone around who eats stuff.
Right.
So-
He's used to making blood dishes. He's not, he hasn't, probably hasn't had a person around that eats real food before
right,
Sarah, before Sarah in a long time.
right. Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah. No. Luckily, the kitchen account has a credit card without a limit on it. I don't want to see the load that he comes back with. It's all meat because Sarah's basically cleaned out the meat counter and
right.
like. But my point being that we're the only two left in the house. Hmm.
Well, then I can definitely think of something we could do till midnight. I mean, till sun up.
Yeah, we've got at least what 6 hours.
Well, I don't know if we want to be doing all that for 6 hours, but
No, probably not.
that's a little much.
So, with Magnus basically knowing what you're suggesting, uh, he takes your hand and starts heading toward the door to the basement. Turns and looks at you and goes, I'm assuming this is what you were talking about.
It certainly is.
Uh, Before we start doing that, do you want to get a couple more goblets of blood in case we get thirsty while we're doing this?
Yes, that probably is not a bad idea. You just bring a bottle of blood on down.
Well, yeah. Well, two. One for each of us. Unless you want to go O negative and then we can just drink one bottle. And, but that's sort of doing it the cheap way.
Right. Yeah, no, we'll bring our each bring our blood
Yeah.
on down.
So, well, the wine cellars in the basement, basically next to the playroom, so that's not hard to figure out. So, you guys go pick out your bottles of wine. Uh, Magnum looks and goes, I haven't restocked this thing in a while. I need to do that. Maybe I'll do it before the party so we have enough to get through. And you guys leave the wine cellar, open the door next door, and walk into the playroom. And, and, and you walk in and you get this familiar feeling like, okay, been here. I know what I'm doing in here. And uh, that's uh, sadly enough because of YouTube. th- that's where we're gonna leave this tonight because
Use your imaginations, people.
yeah, because if we described what's about to happen, YouTube wouldn't leave this video up very long. So
They probably wouldn't leave our channel very
right,
long.
that too. So we hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we did.
We're actually getting somewhere. We're figuring some shit out. So,
Yep. Or at least they think they are,
yeah.
which is always the caveat in my games because you might think you're getting somewhere and maybe not.
Right.
But, but and next time we play this, we'll probably do the party episode with see what Chef Wong comes up with. If Magnus gets a call that the grocery store is empty, we'll know that Sarah and Chef Wong have like brought the whole store to Magnus's house.
Right.
So, but uh, like and subscribe. Want we still want to get to 1,000 subscribers if we can manage it. Um, and leave us comments on Discord and YouTube, and one of us will answer them. Uh, and buy all of Robin's books for Christmas presents. Uh, Everybody reads at some point, so And uh, next week we'll either do Fallen Dragons or um, Artifact Hunters, depending on who is
Who
available
chose?
to play. If you, well, I was about to say, if you looked at last week's video, Jenks appeared for a little bit, so he's doing better. And Melody is still helping her mother and probably won't be back until after New Year's. But if Jinx comes back and feels well enough, we might end up playing Fallen Dragons next week. And it's been a serious while since we
Yeah.
played that. So, and just as a heads up, there might be future possibility of a Werewolf the Apocalypse game, but that's still in the talking and planning stage. So that might be something for the once the new year starts. We might have a new game to play. So keep watching for that. Um, the channel is doing well. We're over 20,000 views. And if you're a podcast fan, uh, look up Spotify for podcasters because our podcast just went over 1,000. And we always like to see the numbers get bigger. So, uh, I think that's about all I have to report at the moment. So,
Yeah. See you guys next time.
yep. Have a have a good week until next Saturday. We'll see you then. Boink.